Hello, my name is Patricia. I'm 32 years old, and I'm a spirited and independent woman. Let me share with you the roller coaster of a journey that has been my relationship with my husband, Austin. Brace yourself. It's quite the saga. Austin and I have experienced our fair share of highs and lows, much like any other couple. I deeply love him, but we've faced a significant hurdle. His mother, Martha, she has been consistently critical of me. No matter my efforts, she never seemed satisfied. During family gatherings, Martha would disparagingly comment on my cooking, acting as if she were a gourmet chef and I was barely an amateur. She criticized everything from the flavor to the presentation, always suggesting I couldn't measure up to her standards. But her criticism didn't stop at my culinary skills. Martha also had a knack for diminishing my other achievements. For instance, at a dinner party, I excitedly shared news of a major promotion at work. Instead of congratulations, she dismissed it as trivial compared to what her friends' children had accomplished, making me feel as though my achievements were invisible. Even our wedding day was not spared from her critiques. It should have been one of the happiest days of my life, but Martha took it upon herself to find fault in everything, from the venue to the color scheme. She whispered her disapproval to anyone who would listen, casting a shadow over our special day. You might expect Austin to defend me, but unfortunately he seems to have a blind spot when it comes to his mother. He fails to see how her actions belittle me and make me feel unimportant. It's painful, and while his father, Raymond, often calls out Martha's behavior, I wish Austin would be the one to stand up for me. After all, I am his wife, his partner, and I deserve his support unequivocally. Every time I felt let down, Austin remained silent, allowing his mother's words to wound me repeatedly. It felt like a series of small, sharp cuts, each one a reminder of my longing for his love and his defense. It wasn't just about shielding me from Martha's harsh remarks. It was about him standing up for our relationship and affirming my significance to him. I hoped he would see past his mom's manipulations and prioritize us, but he seemed trapped in the family drama, unable to detach himself. As time passed, my frustration grew. It seemed like Austin was indifferent to my feelings and needs. We were caught in a destructive cycle that seemed impossible to escape. The situation reached a tipping point when Austin announced he needed to go on another business trip, this time to Florida for a week. Another trip, Austin? Really? I questioned, bewildered. He had just returned from one. It's a really important meeting that can't wait, he insisted. But you just got back. Can't someone else handle it? And why Florida all of a sudden? I asked, my suspicion aroused by the timing of this sudden trip. I tried to express my concerns, hoping he would understand, but his responses were unconvincing. Nonetheless, I resigned myself to the situation. Sometimes things just come up unexpectedly in business, I said, though I was hardly convinced. Yeah, it's just business, okay? Even though I harbored doubts, I didn't press the issue further, and off he went. The first 4 days of Austin's trip passed, and my suspicions only intensified. I decided to FaceTime him, as was our usual routine when he was away. Strangely, he opted for audio calls instead. Hey, can we do a video chat tonight? I asked. Sorry, the hotel Wi-Fi isn't great, so audio calls are better for now. But everything's fine, don't worry, he explained. Wi-Fi problems. It seemed too convenient. Babe, don't worry about it. Austin tried reassuring me, but the situation felt increasingly off, leaving me to wonder what was happening on the other end of the line. Despite trying not to, I found myself consumed by worry. Sometimes, during our calls, I could hear a woman's voice in the background, which only fueled my doubts and made me feel even more uneasy. I was beginning to feel that Austin was concealing something, that this trip involved more than he was admitting. The trust that had anchored our relationship was beginning to fracture, leaving a lingering uncertainty that clouded everything between us. Despite my growing suspicions, I kept silent and accepted his explanations for those 4 days. It was hard to believe that 4 whole days had passed without a single glimpse of Austin. Not only did he evade video calls, but our conversations were also growing noticeably shorter. I knew I needed to uncover the truth. On the next day, I attempted to FaceTime Austin again, desperate for some clarity. But when the call connected, it wasn't Austin who appeared on the screen. It was Martha. She was lounging in a beach chair, sporting sunglasses and a tan, looking utterly relaxed. My shock was palpable. "Martha, what are you doing there? Where's Austin?" I asked, startled. With a self-satisfied smirk, Martha replied, "Oh, Patricia dear, you didn't think he was really on a business trip, did you? Honestly, I can't say he needed to go to Florida just to keep this from you, but I suppose that just shows how pushy you can be." I was stunned. Austin had lied to me, and there was his mother blatantly enjoying herself while I was kept in the dark. Anger began to bubble up inside me as I realized the extent of their deceit. "So you're telling me you both planned a secret vacation without me?" I demanded an explanation. "Well, yes," she admitted nonchalantly. "Why?" I pressed, needing to understand. "Because I wanted to visit my hometown and I wanted to do it with my son. Is that so wrong?" Martha responded as if it was the most natural thing in the world. Her casual dismissal of my feelings and the revelation of their deceit was more than disheartening. It was a betrayal. "Why did you feel the need to keep this a secret and leave me out?" I asked, my voice filled with confusion and hurt. Martha responded calmly, "This trip was meant just for me and my son. It's our special time together." However, I couldn't hide my dismay. "But I'm his wife. Shouldn't I be included? This could have been an opportunity for us to address any issues between us, and honestly, I could have used a break too," I pressed. Martha's reply was blunt. "Well, you didn't get a vacation. Sorry about that, but that's just how it is." Her dismissive tone stung, but I tried to maintain my composure. "Setting aside your dismissive attitude for a moment, I want to make something clear. Even if you planned this trip without me, I'm mature enough to be told up front. Being secretive isn't necessary. I can handle not being invited," I explained. Martha then revealed the harsh truth. "We kept it a secret because we didn't want you to know. It wasn't about whether you would mind or not. We simply chose to exclude you from this information. Your persistent calls, however, forced me to disclose this now." Shocked, I replied, "Are you serious, Martha? What has happened to you?" Her response was cutting. "Oh, stop overreacting. You're blowing this out of proportion like always." I countered, "I'm not being dramatic. After enduring years of your difficult attitude, I have every right to feel upset." Martha then attempted to downplay the situation. "Oh, Patricia, dear, sometimes it's better not to know everything your husband does. It was just a small secret getaway for us, a special bonding moment you wouldn't understand." Her words unleashed a flood of emotions within me, betrayal, anger, and sadness all at once. It became clear that they had intentionally planned this, leaving me feeling utterly deceived. As the full extent of their secrecy dawned on me, I couldn't help but wonder about the other things they might have hidden. How often had these secret excursions occurred? Why were they so determined to keep me in the dark? As my trust in Austin began to crumble, my thoughts were interrupted by his voice approaching. "Mom, why did you pick up the phone? What's going on?" His voice was laced with tension. "It's time Patricia knew the truth. It's been 5 days, his mother stated firmly. Austin quickly grabbed the phone from her, his face turning pale as he realized the gravity of the situation. He looked at the screen, knowing he was trapped by his lies. "Why did you lie about the business trip, Austin? And the Wi-Fi was working fine the past few days, wasn't it?" I demanded, feeling a mix of anger and confusion. "I didn't want to upset you," he admitted sheepishly. "Well, of course I'm upset. I thought you were avoiding me. Is it odd that you want to spend time with your mom?" "Maybe a little, but Austin, you've been neglecting our relationship and I felt distant from you. If you just wanted some time with her, you should have been upfront about it." Even if I'd been disappointed about not being invited, it would have been better than feeling deceived like this, I argued, my frustration evident. Anger surged through me as Austin tried to justify his actions. It was clear he hadn't considered how this would affect me. Austin, I wouldn't have been upset if you had just been honest. It's not really about the trip itself. It's about you keeping it a secret. That's what bothers me. I even started to think you might be cheating when I heard women's voices in the background during your calls, I exclaimed, the hurt evident in my voice. What? No way! Austin exclaimed, shocked by my accusation. Yeah, well, when you keep things from me, what am I supposed to think? I replied bitterly. I have a special bond with my mom. Sometimes we just need our space, Austin attempted to explain. In Florida, of all places? You both hate Florida. And what about visiting Jessica? Weren't we supposed to see her together? My questions lingered in the air, highlighting the inconsistencies in his story and the depth of my disappointment. I confronted Austin. So this secret was just between you and your mom? Did your dad even know about it? My tone was firm, seeking answers. I can't talk right now, Austin stuttered. I hope this trip was worth it because when you come back, you might not have a wife to return to, I declared, my voice unwavering. Austin, please, just wait, he pleaded, but I had no patience left. I ended the call and blocked all further attempts from him to reach me. Alone in my room, I paced back and forth, overwhelmed by confusion and anger. Why would Austin hide something so trivial? One thing I've always believed is that small lies can hint at bigger secrets. It was almost absurd to think of Austin secretly spending time with his mom. Part of me wished it was something as straightforward as an affair. It would have been less painful than dealing with his distant, secretive behavior and his mother's meddling. I knew I needed advice from someone who might understand, so I decided to call my father-in-law, hoping he could shed some light on the situation. Hey, it's Patricia. I need to talk to you about something important, I said as soon as he answered. I poured out everything from the deception that was straining my marriage to the feelings of betrayal swirling inside me. I explained how Austin had concocted a story about a business trip and how Martha seemed to take pleasure in keeping me out of the loop, enjoying the control it gave her over our relationship. The weight of their deceit was suffocating, and as I shared my story, I could hear the shock and hurt in Raymond's voice. What? I had no idea about any of this. I'm so sorry, Patricia, Raymond replied, his tone serious and filled with concern. He continued, Martha told me she was going to Florida to mend things with her mother. I believed her. I corrected him. Austin just confessed. They weren't planning to visit Jessica at all. She doesn't even know about any supposed visit. Raymond's reaction confirmed his shock and hurt. It was clear he was blindsided by Martha's manipulation. I can't believe Martha would orchestrate something like this, he admitted, dismayed by the web of lies his wife had spun, which had entangled all of us. It's one thing to disagree, but deceiving your own family is something else entirely. It's unforgivable, Raymond said, his voice laden with disappointment. I felt the same. The deceit was too deep to simply overlook. They both need to learn a lesson, I replied, my anger fueling a determination to set things right. After our conversation, filled with plans and mutual encouragement, I hung up, eagerly anticipating the outcome of Raymond's discussion with Jessica. Hours later, Raymond called back with updates that only added to the gravity of the situation. His voice wavered with a mix of anger and sorrow as he recounted the details. I told her everything, Patricia. Jessica was furious, absolutely devastated. She couldn't believe that her daughter would go this far in deceiving everyone, Raymond explained. She deserves to know the truth. Martha has been unbearable for too long, I responded, still heated from the betrayal. Well, Jessica is ready to take matters into her own hands. She's planning to give Martha a lesson she won't soon forget. She's fed up with Martha's antics and wants to show her what true rudeness looks like, Raymond continued. Curious about the deeper issues at play, I asked, Raymond, what exactly is the issue between Martha and Jessica? Raymond sighed before replying, It's quite ironic, Patricia. Martha has always claimed that her mother was rude and cruel to her. They've had a rocky relationship ever since Martha ran away, and they've been in and out of contact for years. It's been very toxic. But after speaking with Jessica for the past hour, I'm beginning to think that Martha might have been the problem all along. He then reflected on the broader implications. It's crazy. I've been married to Martha for all these years. Yet you've managed to uncover more about our family secrets in this short time than I ever did. I should have been more curious. The revelations were startling, casting new light on the family dynamics and hinting at long-standing issues that had been simmering beneath the surface. I should have been more assertive, Raymond lamented. I reassured him. How could you have known, Raymond? Don't be too hard on yourself. You were just trusting your wife, being a good husband, and you've stepped up more than Austin has. That counts for something. Thanks, Patricia, for everything. I'm glad I could help, though it's unfortunate that it had to come to this, I remarked, reflecting on the tumultuous events. Yeah, I guess so, but I'm looking forward to seeing Jessica show them her true colors, Raymond responded with a mixture of anticipation and relief. The next day, the fallout from our revelations began to unfold. Austin, failing to grasp the full seriousness of the situation, called me, clearly agitated. Patricia, what did you do? He demanded. What do you mean? Don't play dumb with me. Jessica is here and nobody else knew we were in town except you. She said she came because she heard we were here. I'm glad she knows the truth. Everyone deserves to after all your sneaking around. How could you do this, Patricia? Austin's frustration was palpable. In the background, I could hear a commotion, likely Jessica confronting Martha. Austin, maybe it's time Martha faces the consequences of her actions. She needs to understand what it feels like to be deceived, I replied firmly. Suddenly I heard Martha's voice, angry and accusatory. You ungrateful little rat. How dare you expose us like this? As I listened, I couldn't help but chuckle softly, though my laughter was tinged with bitterness. Before I could respond, another voice, stern and authoritative, cut in. Don't you dare speak to that young lady like that. I've had enough of your insolence. You've been telling everyone how rude and nasty I was to you, huh? When all I did was care for you and help you out of trouble. You were such a problem child, lying about everything and being nasty to everyone, and I see that lifestyle has followed you into adulthood. As the argument escalated, I heard the sound of something breaking, likely a glass or vase. The intensity of the shouting made me slightly fearful. I couldn't imagine how scared Austin must have felt, but I realized that this was the consequence of his actions. He was an adult, responsible for his choices. Over the next few days, Austin repeatedly asked for my forgiveness because his grandmother was driving him crazy. Each time he called, I reminded him that this was his own doing. Meanwhile, Martha and Jessica continued their heated exchanges, and I was surprised they hadn't been kicked out of the hotel where they were staying. As their 10-day trip neared its end, Austin revealed something even more shocking. Patricia, please, you need to talk to Jessica. I tried talking to Dad, but he's still upset with Mom and me, Austin pleaded. Slow down, what's going on? Weren't you two supposed to be coming back? I thought you learned your lesson, I asked, trying to keep up with the unfolding drama. Well, Jessica doesn't think, Austin started, hinting that the troubles were far from over. Austin revealed that she intended to join us on the flight, hoping to follow us back and ensure my mother behaved like a dignified adult, rather than acting like an unruly teen. Wow, that's quite the surprise, I said. Perhaps next time you'll advocate for what's right instead of participating in your mother's plots. I'll see you when you get back, I concluded. Patricia, I'm sorry for everything. Haven't you punished us enough? Please talk to Jessica and convince her not to come with us, Austin implored with desperation. I don't think so, dear. It's not my place to stop her. She's quite formidable, I replied, dismissing Austin's request. How do you think that makes us feel? He pressed. Honestly, your feelings aren't my concern right now. You've misled me for far too long, and you never defended me when your mom mistreated me. Now you're just experiencing the consequences. Don't be upset with me. Have a safe trip, or at least as safe as it can be with those two together, I asserted firmly before ending the call. A sense of vindication enveloped me, realizing that I had finally confronted the persistent negativity in our lives. Jessica, our unexpected champion, had initiated her form of retribution, igniting a spark of anticipation within me. Now, I look forward to their return, eager to hear the stories Jessica will undoubtedly have, imagining her making their flight challenging. The taste of revenge was indeed delicious.